Hey everyone, I'm Kendall.
And I'm Lex.
And this is All Your Heart, Soul, and Strength. Here at this YouTube channel, our main goal is to speak God's truth and show how it applies to every area of your life.
If you're new here, welcome, or if you're a returning watcher, thank you so much for your support. Please like and subscribe, and if you were moved by this message and you feel like it could benefit others, go ahead and share it.
We hope you enjoy today's episode.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. As you can see, Kendall is not here. It is my dad. So we have a special guest appearance of the one and only Ray Wiley, a.k.a. better known as...
Alexis's dad.
Yeah. So if you live in Pineville or if you were any of my friends, no one ever called him by his name. It was always just Alexis's dad.
Aren't you Alexis's dad? Yes, I am.
That was it. He tried to make that his Facebook name for a while, but Facebook wouldn't allow it.
No.
But that was funny. But super excited to have him here today and excited to share what's been on his heart, my heart. We have no notes, so we're just kind of winging it.
Straight from the heart.
Straight
from
the heart.
No, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. This is my first experience doing this, so looking forward to how it turns out.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So thank you for inviting me and letting me kind of talk through the topic. That's kind of been, I guess it's something that has been kind of on my heart recently, especially with your adventure. I call it adventure.
Journey.
Journey. You stepping out into the ministry.
Yeah.
It's just talking about, God's call that we have and that he's placed on us. And it's a scary thing sometimes for people whenever they feel that there's something more that they should be doing.
Yeah.
So I just remember, about me. I'm a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah.
I've been a Sunday school teacher now for 5 years, and I teach our adult class there at the church we attend. Years ago, involved with the youth and was a youth Sunday school teacher. But, that talks about the fivefold ministry and, obviously evangelists, preachers, missionaries, teachers, pastors. And, I've always told everyone I feel that my calling is to be a teacher. And sometimes after Sunday school, people will come up to me and say, well, that was a good sermon, Brother Wiley, that you preached. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not a preacher. I'm not called to preach. I do feel the calling to teach.
Yeah.
So until the Lord leads me in a different direction, I will stay in that lane and not try to venture out because I don't want to get caught without him.
Yeah, I feel like you have the perfect personality for teaching. He kind of keeps people on their toes a little bit. One of the ones that blew a lot of people's mind was your Christmas message about how we really don't know the actual day of Christmas.
Right.
That one blew everybody away, and you make it really relatable to real life. Like you throw in designers, and now this person, to describe him, he would be decked out in Louis Vuitton, and
Right. Yeah. And so that's kind of my style. And what I try to do is, I know as a young person, so I can tell everybody I'm third generation Christian, whatever, and about $2.40 to get me a gallon of gas.
Yeah.
It's about having your own call, having your own experience, and having your own relationship with God. So whenever I was younger, the church I went to always taught out of the King James version.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of these and thous and actually this is my Bible from when I was a young youth member in my teens. And as I got older, I just realized that I just remember not being able to relate to some of the stories
or even understand.
Or understand. So if you can take those stories that are in the Bible and make them relative to what people actually have today and the experiences that they have today, it seems that it's like, oh, I can relate to that now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know. Now I can see that I am either in the same situation, or I've had the same blessing, or I've had the same experience that the disciples had, or that Paul had, or Daniel, or whoever it may be that you're studying. So whenever you look at the world today, and I'm talking about the physical earth.
Yeah.
Whenever you see the trees and the grass and all these things, none of that has changed. Housing styles have changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vehicles have changed, means of motivation. But as far as the mountains and the scenery that people see today is the same scenery that they saw in Jesus' time, in ancient times. So, whenever we're doing a study about, you talk about Capernaum, or I was talking about Jonah and how he fled and he didn't want to go to Nineveh. Well, if you look at the map, the island that he fled to was as far east as you could go. And if you think about it, during that time, people thought that the earth was flat.
Yeah.
And so he literally went to the edge of the earth.
There was no more going.
There was no further. He actually went to the edge of the earth, trying to avoid that call on his life. And sometimes whenever people feel that call from God on their lives, asking them to do something that may be outside of their comfort zone, sometimes we'll do the same thing that Jonah did. We look at Jonah and we say, oh, well, he was crazy. Well, we have the benefit of hindsight. But yet, whenever you think about it today, we may not move away, but we will try sometimes to move ourselves away from God as far as we can, so that we don't have that calling constantly on our lives. So.
Yeah, because sometimes I guess it can almost feel like a burden. Like I don't want to do that, or I don't have time for that right now. So I'm just gonna get in a closet and shut myself away from it. Yeah, but you also do a lot for the church. I mean, as far as I've been alive, I can remember you teaching Sunday school, being a youth pastor, running sound, playing the drums, playing the spoons. You've had a number of hats in the church.
Yeah.
But now I feel like you're very strong in teaching. I mean, it's something you do now every single Sunday.
Right. Yeah. And it's something that again, I just feel it on my heart. It's not, it wasn't a burning bush. It wasn't an audible voice. It wasn't a donkey talking to me.
It wasn't fire by night.
Yeah, it was. I didn't have the Damascus Road experience that Paul did. This resounding voice and this thing happening in my life that made me realize that teaching was my calling. But it was just something that was on my heart, and God opened those doors. So about 5 years ago, our original pastor had retired. We had moved to we was from a small country church. We moved to a larger city church. Kind of got there. God had His hands in it the whole time. When I look back, He put us there just to rest for a little while, get our feet back under us, and then we helped out with this other small little church that we're going to now, and it just come from a standpoint of they asked me if I would help put their sound system in, so we did that. Your mom asked, so well, how long are we going to stay there? I said, well, let's just stay there until I can get someone trained on the sound system. I don't want to just leave them, high and dry, and so. We've never left. Yeah.
I guess the sound still doesn't sound that great. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. But, the pastor there, he was doing, all the teaching. He was doing Sunday morning Sunday school. He was doing the Sunday morning worship service. He was doing the Wednesday night worship service. And I don't know, I just felt that, he had this burden and I had a burden. I was like, I really need to help out here.
Yeah.
And, what is it that I can do? So I just approached him, and he ended up, we had three members of the church, and we started out alternating teaching Sunday school. And over a period of time that evolved. Now it's just me.
Lone survivor.
Yeah. So I teach every Sunday. It was scary.
Yeah.
At the first. I mean, not everybody's called to stand up in front of people and talk.
Yeah.
By nature, I'm an introvert, so it was a bit challenging. And but anyway, the more I do it, the more comfortable it is.
Yeah.
And it's just God. As the more you study, the more is revealed to you. The more that's revealed to you, the more you want to share with everyone else. It's been a great journey so far.
Yeah. And we do have some points that we really want to highlight and dive a little bit deeper into. And the first being that everybody has a calling. I like what you said about how you didn't have this burning bush moment. You didn't have Jesus come to you in a dream. You didn't have it, I don't know, I don't think you had it prophesied over your life by someone randomly in Walmart. No. What would you describe it as? As a
God talks to everybody in different ways.
Yeah.
And the key point is before all of this is having a close enough relationship and a close enough walk with him that you understand when he's talking to you.
Yeah.
And that you hear that voice, even though it's not an audible voice, you still hear it. Like I said, I believe that everyone has a call. I think it's biblical. It talks about it, furthering the kingdom. That's our call. Our call is to further the kingdom. And that might be a pulpit ministry. It might be mowing the grass.
Yeah.
It might be handing out visitor cards.
Cleaning the church.
It may be just visiting the elderly in the church. It could even be something as private and as secretive as being an intercessor prayer warrior.
Yeah.
I truly believe that there are people with this gift that God lays this burden on their heart, and they intercede. And
Miss Terry.
Yeah, yes, right. You and I may never even know that person prayed for us. But there's all these callings that make up the body of Christ. He's the head.
Yeah.
We're all the different parts of the body. And what the finger does is something totally different than what the ear does. And what the ear does is something totally different than the nose. So it's all these different things. I've always said I'd just be happy being the pinky toe.
The pinky toe. It's funny.
Just as long as I'm doing something, answering that call, and that everybody has that call. And, I've been asked that before. How did you know that, this was your call? How do you know what this is? Whenever God opens a door, when you think about walking through an open door, it's not difficult.
Yeah.
It takes an act of faith to go through that door.
Yeah.
So, my litmus test has always been, how difficult is it to move in that direction? Whether it's buying a car, pray about it. Do I need to buy this car? Do I need to take this job? Pray about it. Do I need to move to this area? Pray about it. God, is this the call in my life? Pray about it. And if there's a lot of resistance, and I'm not talking about
you resisting.
Yeah, you resisting.
Just not wanting to is not resistance.
Right.
Yeah.
But if there is something that is it just can't work out, I usually take that as a sign. Okay, this might not be the right direction that I need to go. But in this case with teaching Sunday school, I just went to the pastor and said, I just felt like I needed to offer. I said, Pastor, I said, look, I know it's a big burden on you for doing all of these different services. I said, if you want somebody, or if you need someone to assist with teaching Sunday school, I said, I don't mind stepping in and, covering for you, every now and then, just to give you a break, just to give you, some relief. There was no resistance.
Yeah. It was welcomed with open arms.
It was welcomed with open arms. And
like when you're praying, like, Lord, if there's resistance,
right,
I'll take it as a sign.
Right. But that started 5 years ago, and here we are today. It's been a blessing, and I believe that the Lord has blessed our lives, and not just me and your mom, but you and Kendall, my mom and dad, my family, the church. I think that just everybody has been blessed by it, because again, it's not about me teaching. It's not about me. It's just not about me.
Yeah,
it's about him.
It's not.
It's about him. And again, furthering the kingdom. There's all sorts of calls. There's, again, like I said, it's not just a pulpit ministry that people are called to. So,
and it's okay to be at church. I know a lot of people, even in our church that we're attending right now, they are in a season of rest. Maybe they've came from a church where they've just gotten burnt out, because maybe it was more of like a second full-time job on them. They're here to rest, and resting is okay.
Yes.
But we're not called to just rest.
Right.
Like you said, we are the body, and everybody has their purpose, and you just have to find what that purpose is, which brings us into our second point of what is my purpose? How do I know? Now, it's funny because, I mean, even if you take Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, but for lack of better words, the Bible kind of described him as a little bit illiterate. He's like, oh, no, not me. I can't. He literally said, I cannot speak well.
Right.
You have to choose someone else. Choose my brother. And the Lord got mad at him. So you can't even say, well, just know your strengths and know your weaknesses. You know, Lord has a sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly.
You do have to pray about it, and just like you said, when everyone thinks, okay, what's my ministry? What's my calling? 9 times out of 10, it is not going to be from the pulpit.
Right.
You know, children, nursery. If I don't have, you don't want to put me in nursery. That's kind of how I ended up on the worship team, to be honest. Our church, very quick story, our church is a set up and tear down church. We set up every Sunday, we tear down every Sunday. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of hands on deck. And where the church was lacking at with helpers, with volunteers, was the worship team and babies. And they're like, we need someone in the nursery. And I'm like, if anyone asks me, you know what? I'll sing. And so then I joined the worship team. So that's kind of honestly how that unfolded a little bit. Because I'm like, if they ask me to be a nursery and I say no, I have to do something.
Right. You know, and here's been my experience, and this is some advice I've given. I'm an old guy, right?
No, you're only as old as you feel.
You're only as old as you feel, right? Well, I feel much younger today than I did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you just had not to like out your medical history, but you just had a heart cath and stents put in.
Correct.
A week ago.
Yeah. But
That's crazy.
It is. But feeling much better. But anyway, like I said, I'm the old guy, and some of the advice I give to some of the younger people that's always asking, well, how did you know? How did you know? How did you know? I'm scared. Try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. Step out in faith and try it. And if it doesn't work out, if you realize, hey, you know what, this may not be truly where God needs me. That wasn't God's calling. It was kind of my own ambition.
Yeah.
And it's fallen flat. It's okay.
Yeah.
Find something different,
Right.
until you do find that calling. But, I believe that God just honors sacrifice and he honors obedience. If you're doing your best to do something for the kingdom, the old saying is kind of cliche, but it's truth. It says, God doesn't always call the equipped, but he always equips the called.
The called, yeah.
So, sometimes you're going to be doing things that you are good at.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to be doing things that you're not so good at.
That you have to grow in.
That you have to grow in, right. In your case, if you were to, start working with the children, it would be something you have to grow into. Whereas if you were, working with outreach and things of that sort, I think that's more of your natural talent. Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail. There's no failing whenever you're doing you're doing it for the Lord. When you're doing it for His glory and for His praise and His honor, there is no failing.
And Joey always says obedience is on us, but the outcome's on God.
Right.
Just be obedient and try to get involved. Even if it's like with the fun things first, like Vacation Bible School. It doesn't have to even be like a necessarily every Sunday, I've got to be there at 7:30 and do this. Just keep it light for a second.
Right. And if you have something that's on your heart or whatever, go talk to your pastor. Go talk to them and find out, bounce that idea off of them. You never know. They may have been praying for God to send somebody in that work, or they can give you advice. I'll never forget this story. And our pastor used this, and but he was talking about, I don't think it was him. I think it was someone else. But anyway, they went to their pastor and they said, Pastor, I feel this calling to preach, I feel this call to ministry. And the pastor said, well, that's great. He says, I got some home Bible studies I want you to start doing.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And he started doing the home Bible studies. And then, after a few of those, he was like, oh, man, I yes, sir. I really feel that, I'm now in the call. It's been confirmed that I need to preach. And he says, well, that's wonderful. He said, we just had an opening in the Sunday school department, so I need you to start teaching this class.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that I think the pastor had the wisdom to realize that, hey, maybe that is your end call, but you're not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
So
grow into it.
So let's grow into this. Let's get you into in these things where you can be successful in your call.
Right.
And sometimes that's the way that God moves.
Mm-hmm.
We may not start out being a pastor or a preacher or one of these high profile. I call them high profile callings. It's the things that everybody sees, but there are other things to do behind the scenes. That are just as important, if not more important than the pulpit ministry. I run the sound I'm the sound guy. Whatever.
How do you play the drums and run the sound at the same time?
I got long arms.
One of those long forks.
Right. But I have a young guy that helps me out, and I've told him, we really have the most important job in the service, because hey, if the sound guy turns all the mics off and turns everything down,
we're going home. It's over.
It's over. Nobody's hearing anything, right? There are no. I've always said that there's no small jobs to do in the Lord's service.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that we can do, we just need to be busy doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I actually started playing drums in church out of necessity. I was in the band whenever I was in junior high. I wasn't in the band during high school. I did play. I played saxophone and drums, and played the saxophone in church. And then your mother and I got married, moved to Dallas, came back to the same church that we were going to, and it just so happened a few months after we started going there was no drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I had never actually played drums in church. I never played drums outside of the marching band. Way back in junior high. 8th grade was the last time I'd actually played drums, but it was a vacancy. There was nobody else there to do it.
Yeah.
And, God had given me the talent.
Yeah.
So, that was one of those things that I started doing, again, out of necessity. It wasn't a
burning bush moment.
Burning bush moment. So I would say that too as well. If you're looking for what your calling is, look around in the church that you're going to,
mm-hmm.
and where is the vacancy?
Yeah.
And do you have a natural talent that can fill that vacancy? Maybe that's why God moved you there. Maybe that's why God put you there, is to fill that vacancy. I don't know. There's no church secretary, and you have the ability to take notes and be organized. You have organizational skills. Step up and say, hey, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Or if there's Sunday school teaching that is missing, and you have this natural ability to relate to people. Maybe you're not a school teacher, or maybe you never taught before formal education. But if you have this unique ability to be able to relate to people, and you're a good storyteller, maybe it's time to step into that role.
Or if you park airplanes.
Parking
attendants.
Maybe you're a parking attendant. Exactly. There's one church I went to. I drove the golf cart in the
golf cart
in the parking lot. People were very appreciative of that on rainy, cold days. To get a dry ride up to the sanctuary. Again, just maybe try to find that void. And see if you have a natural ability to fill that. When I was reading this, it was part of our last Sunday school lesson. It talks about Abraham, our father. He never hesitated at God's direction at sacrificing Isaac.
Yeah.
And he never wavered. When God told him to do something, it didn't matter what the sacrifice was. He was willing. He was going to do it. Mm-hmm. And whenever you read the story about the rich young ruler, he asked Jesus, he says, what do I have to do? And he says, you have to keep my commandments. And he goes, well, I've done that since I was a little boy. So basically, and again, here's one of my analogies, basically what Jesus told him was, hey, you have to go to church, you have to live for me, you have to do the things that are in the Bible. And he says, I've done this. He says, I've kept these things since my youth. So he basically says, hey, Jesus, I've went to church every Sunday. I've done everything. I feel right. I've followed all. I've checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
And then Jesus asked him. He says, "But one thing thou lackest." He says, "Go and sell all that you have, and give it to the poor."
Yeah.
And it says that the rich young man went away sorrowful. He went away sad. And I told the church in the lesson, I was like, this verse, while it's related to money, if you look at it, it really has a much deeper meaning. It's not really about money. It's about obeying what Jesus tells us to do.
Yeah.
And whenever you contrast that with what Abraham did, Abraham was willing to sacrifice it all and whatever God asked for, I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And he didn't go around trying to plan with, well, how am I going to get that back? How is God going to repay me in this? Whereas this rich young ruler was not like Abraham. He was like, oh my goodness, I've worked all my life for all this stuff. This is my possessions, and this man's asking me to go sell all of us because it's not in the commandments that I have to do this.
Yeah.
So he wasn't willing to step out. Basically, he had faith.
Yeah.
But he had no obedience.
That's good.
So kind of bringing that back to what we was talking about. To obey the call, you have to have faith. And to have faith, you have to have action.
Yeah.
Action is what speaks to faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. So I can believe that eating that big bowl of gumbo is going to be tasty and it's going to warm my body and it's going to be the best thing ever. But until I actually stick the spoon in it and put it in my mouth and chew it up and take some sort of action on it, I will literally starve to death if I never take action on that. So just believing and having the faith that it's going to do that is not sufficient. So whenever there is a call on your life, it's something. Sometimes it's going to take some action on our part that's going to make us feel a little bit uncomfortable. But just through obedience and having that courage and just having that faith, like Abraham had, of, hey, God asked me to do this. God has given this for me to do. He's given me this task. He's given me this chore, whatever it may be. You know what, God? I'm not going to sit here and ask you, what's going to be in it for me. What is it going to do? How is this going to result? I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. Because I trust in you. I have faith in you. And I know that if I'm in your will, it's all going to work out. And it's not necessarily just going to work out for me, but it's going to work out so that your kingdom can be furthered. Yeah, so it's not just enough to believe in God.
Yeah.
Even the devil believes in God. The demons believe in God. It's how do we what is our actions?
Well, Dad just preached my sermon for Sunday.
Sorry about that. Maybe it's just confirmation. It's confirmation. And I'm sure you will preach before this comes out.
Yeah.
So I stole it from her.
Yeah. It's funny about confirmation and just, and again, you can pray, Lord, reveal to me where either there's a void or where I should serve. And you should pray about everything before you do. So just to show you that he does answer and that he does give you confirmation, you already know this. I was finishing the last bit of editing to my sermon like Sunday or Monday this week. I don't remember when it was. And I was like, I just need confirmation, like I've never preached before. Like I've never brought the word in front of a Sunday crowd. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, I don't even know if like what I'm saying is what I'm supposed to be saying. Like I just was doubting myself a lot. For one, because I'm very nervous. Right. And so I was doing my PowerPoint slides, for the screen, and I was checking a spelling or scripture, something. And the scripture I was putting on the PowerPoint was, we walk by faith and not by sight. So I opened up my Bible because I couldn't remember exactly which version of the scripture I was using. And so I grabbed my Bible and that falls out. And I'm like, what in the world? And I met a man at a work event this year who was just precious, and I really took a liking to him, and he took a liking to me. And I forgot he gave me this Bible bookmark, and on the front of it is faith. And it's super pretty. He did it with a coloring marker. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's kind of weird. Like my sermon's on faith. And I turned it over, walk by faith, not by sight.
Yep.
And I was like, well, it's about all the confirmation I need.
Yeah.
Put it back in my Bible. I don't even know if I finished what I was doing. But yeah, confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah, those burning bush moments.
That is a burning bush moment.
Right.
All right, well, that all you got?
That's it.
That's it. Well, I hope that everyone was very encouraged and that this touched someone. And maybe this was your burning bush moment. If you've been feeling the tug on your heart that you need to serve in church, walk into your calling, maybe you already know what that calling is and you've just been a little scared, extremely uncomfortable, but just know through faith, through prayer, and through some faith-filled friends, you're going to get through it. So if this was your burning bush moment, congratulations. But we will see you guys next time, and who knows, we'll have you back one day.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it. This was fun.
Yeah, just have your notes next time.
I have my notes next time.
Have his notes next time. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.